Privateer Hero. This is the outside gate on the L4 media platform. And today we've got an Aussie privateer. And when I was thinking about him earlier, about this intro, I thought he's probably the guy in Australia who really epitomizes the phrase "making it happen." He's that guy, he's living in the van, getting to all the nationals, getting to all the supercrosses, getting overseas, racing overseas, which I'm real keen to talk about. And he's that guy who's just on the very fringe of getting a factory ride, and he's just out there making it happen, hustling sponsors, different brand bikes, all that sort of thing. And you did score a factory ride though, which we'll talk about. Joel Evans, how are you?
Yeah, good mate. Good. Yeah, thanks for that intro. That's pretty well explains me, I think. The whole way through essentially I've just sort of tried to make it happen, and I took a little bit non-conventional path with, obviously we all know that the sport's pretty gnarly, like financially and whatever, and my old man did the best he could, but we could never just go, all in when I was 15, 16 like a lot of the boys. So I just did it a little later, and yeah, just had a crack. And I sort of I still feel young, I think, because it's taken me sort of so long to actually have a crack at it. And yeah, like you said, we worked our ass off for that long, and we got an opportunity for 24 hours at least on a team, which was, yeah, it was epic.
Yeah, man. Yeah. How's your body feeling, man? Because obviously, that that factory ride, you had a crash that day, man. So just tell us about that 24 hours, man. Yeah, and how you feeling now.
Yeah. So obviously, yeah, like I said, I did have that crash, but I guess I'll back up a bit. It wasn't really 24 hours. It was more 2 weeks. Where I got the call before Adelaide, so like the second last round of the Supercross, and spoke to Todd and the T-Dub racing team at Husqvarna there, and I sort of spoke to about three or four different people within the team before I actually got to speaking to Todd. And it made me realize like how much is actually involved with the teams. It's not as simple as Toddy just being like, "Hey man, there's a bike available, jump on."
Yeah,
Which,
yeah,
like, when you sort of do it this way, I guess the privateer way, it's a little bit less organized, a little bit more just thrown together.
mm,
But it's cool to experience that side of things, like how many moving pieces there are, and it's like it's not just one person's approval. It's got to go, to Kyle, who's like the head of KTM Group in
yeah,
Australia, and it's got to go, like to T Dub's media guy Mickey, and then it's like the mechanics and stuff. Everyone sort of has to tick off the boxes and make sure that you're someone who's going to fit it.
yeah,
So yeah, I anyway spoke to all those around Adelaide time, and then straight after the race, I got actually just before the race at Adelaide, I got the call and they said, "Yep, we're actually going to make it happen." So I was planning to fly to Tahiti, I think, to go race the Tuesday after Adelaide.
yeah,
Um, so I basically just made a bunch of different calls. I got my buddy Sam Larson that I do a fair bit with now, and I essentially changed my name on the ticket to his name and sent him over to Tahiti so that I could take this opportunity, because
yeah,
it's everything I've sort of ever wanted. So
yes,
getting to travel and do that's awesome, but I was never going to pass up a ride on a team. So
yeah,
we yeah, made that happen, and spent 2 weeks on the bike. I went out, well, a week and a half. I went up and met Toddy in the Gold Coast where he's from, and grabbed Reese's bike. It still had his numbers on it, the full race bike, the whole deal. We just met at a BP servo and did the exchange, sort of spoke over everything. And every single day I spoke to him for probably around half an hour. He was like way better to me than he needed to be, which I'm super appreciative of. Like, it would have been super easy for him to just hand the bike off and be like, "Hey man, we need a bike on track for Melbourne."
mm,
Um, and instead, like, he was calling me after each day when I was riding and just asking how I'm going with it, if I need any changes. Um, and then being a privateer and not having, the resources to change too much, I didn't have anything to change ever.
yeah,
But I just was like, this is sick. But then, so instead of that, he was just helping me with things to work on, because obviously I wanted to sort of take advantage of it and do as well as
mm,
I could. So he was telling me different things, like at the track, he's like, "Don't do any motos. I know that you're fit. So like, stop that and just go work on your speed." And he's like, "Man, just hit the corner as quick as you can to crash." And like, just sort of find the limits of this bike, because you don't know where it is. Like, it handles different to yours. And yeah, it was really cool. Like honestly, that was probably the coolest part of the whole experience was actually the during the week stuff more so than even the race because the race is just hectic. But yeah, like being able to talk to Todd and he's someone I've sort of looked up to
Mm.
forever. Even though he's not that much older than me, I guess, but in like him being on teams and stuff the whole way through and me being a little bit of a late starter, I was sort of always looking up to him. I think at one stage I had his poster and like for him to just be treating me like, like I am here for you, like not so
Yeah,
much like me looking up to him. He's just like, what can I do to help you? That was, yeah, a cool experience. And just sort of that continued on all the way up to the race, and I got the bike. Had to give the bike back on the Monday before, so I actually only got 4 days on the bike, which was obviously made it a little rushed. But we got down to Melbourne, and yeah, then actually got to experience the being there. And we didn't have a truck. That was the one thing I was bummed about because you're under the stadium there,
yeah,
and we
yeah,
we
yeah.
didn't have the truck to get the photo under the truck. But
Mm.
yeah, we got to experience the whole thing with the mechanics and everything there.
Yeah, awesome, man. And how is the body? It was your
Oh yeah,
hand?
yeah.
Yeah, it was your hand?
Yeah, so it was actually my ankle was the worst.
Okay, yeah.
So went out for first practice. Obviously the excitement was there and everything, and I wanted to do really well. And I felt so good on the bike. Like I was going to a practice track that I'd rode sort of the whole time,
Yep.
and I was multiple seconds a lap faster on that bike by the end than I was on my 450. So I was changed my mindset to just enjoy the experience to like let's actually turn some heads and like have a good
Yeah,
crack here. And
yeah,
Todd helped me a bit with that too, just the mentality. And then when I hit the track I was a little uncomfortable just because it's an actual racetrack and you've got tough blocks
yeah,
there. And you know how it is, that we're all the same. It's like you feel awesome at the practice track, you get to the race and it feels a bit different. So
yep.
yeah, I was a little uncomfortable, and then that actually freaked me out because I looked up at the board and I wasn't doing real good, and my time wasn't great. But we are 5 minutes into the day, and I just panicked too quick and come up to a rhythm that I was already doing well, and just hit it way too quick. And when I hit it, I should have soaked it, and I didn't. I just basically hit it, and yeah, smacked my head on the bars. Went 3.5 instead of three, basically, and
Yep.
smacked my head on the bars. Ended up with two black eyes. Split my chin open, so I got some stitches in race safe in between practices. And when I landed, because I hit the ground, hit that face of that fourth jump, the bike actually sort of Ronnie Macked, I guess, like front wheel up in the air, and all
Oh, yeah.
happened pretty quick that I didn't have time to gather it up.
Yeah.
And I sort of landed off the side, and I dropped my foot off the edge of the bike, almost like foot planted when I landed.
Yeah, yep.
And yeah, it was a fair bit of pain. I sort of stood up and tried to hobble my way over to the bike, and I thought it was just a bit of a stinger. Um, and was like, well, nothing's really going to stop me from racing, so I'm going
Yeah.
anyway. But yeah, just the adrenaline. I sort of that was the end of that practice basically. But that was first time hitting the track, and went back, got stitched up.
Do
The
you leave
black
your
eyes.
boots on? Do you leave your boots on?
I did leave the boot on because I was a
Yeah.
little bit concerned.
Yeah, yeah, don't take it off,
Yeah,
yeah.
but yeah, as soon as the adrenaline starts rushing, coming off, and like you can see on the YouTube, like Michaela's there filming me, and I start realizing as I'm taking my glove off, I'm like, yeah, my finger's definitely broken here. And then I tried to lift my water bottle up, and I was like, yeah, my left shoulder's not going to do that. And I just like started listing off. I've got a few issues here. And yeah, I didn't realize it was so bad, but all from that very first crash, I finished the night off and I ended up, I don't know, I think P9 or P10 or
Mm,
something over the night, which was, that was okay, but I do wish I
yeah,
did a little better.
yeah,
But considering the circumstances, because yeah, once I got back, I assumed I had a bit of a sprained ankle and whatever, and I'd be okay. But it sort of a few weeks down the track, and I wasn't getting that much better.
mm,
My ankle was still big, so I went and got some scans, and actually ended up completely tearing a ligament off my fibula that
okay, yeah,
attaches to your foot.
yeah.
So essentially, I sort of got explained it. It's similar to like basically not having an ACL in my ankle now.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so yeah, so I've tore that off, and then a bunch of like little tears in the other ligaments. I ruptured the deltoid, whatever that is, in the ankle,
yeah,
and my talus bone, so like your main load bearing bone
yeah,
in the foot.
yeah,
Um, it had like a pretty bad bone edema. So on the
yeah,
scans, it's meant to look black, and it's white. So
yeah,
essentially, it's just bone bruising, but
yeah,
it's just yeah, smashed that pretty hard. And so yeah, I did a pretty good job of the ankle, and um, I once the scans come back, they called me and said, "Hey, stop walking on it. Like, go get crutches and a moon boot, and we'll go see a specialist and make a decision." So I got all that done. The specialist actually got me booked in for surgery the day before Christmas. And then I told him, "Hey, that's not gonna work because I've got some racing overseas coming up in Thailand, early Feb, and it's too late now, essentially." And I said, "How is it stupid, basically, for me not to get the surgery? And is it gonna put me behind?" And um, he did some more tests on the ankle, and he was pretty happy with how it already was because that was obviously close to a month from Marvel. And he
Mm,
said it is doing a decent job of recovering on its own. So get out of the moon boot, start trying to strengthen it with some physio stuff, and yeah, let's just elect to not do the surgery because even if you get the surgery, you're not going to allow it if you go race at that time to recover anyway.
mm.
Um, and then yeah, I was like, well, while I'm doing that, I'll go get the finger scanned, and turns out I tore a tendon and the bone off in my finger too. So that was again going to require surgery. That yeah, the surgeon I saw with that was actually pretty cool as well, with understanding, which you don't always get with doctors, as you probably know. Like all of us motocross guys, you say you ride a motorbike, and the doctor sometimes looks at you a bit funny. But
Yeah.
yeah, I got really good ones, got lucky there, and they just sort of like, yeah, well, you're not silly for not getting it. It's just you're going to be in a bit of pain essentially, and yeah, all of that's a long-winded way to say that I'm actually starting to feel okay now. I do have injuries that are going to be there; they're not going to go away, but I'm not scared to go through a little bit of pain. And it's just it sets you back too far in the season. And I don't have too many more years left of this, so I'm gonna take every opportunity I can while I can.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Cool. That's the way. What and then how's 25 looking, man? What are you up to for 25 there? Like what are you riding? Who's supporting you and that sort of thing?
Um, Looking very similar, honestly, to like my last few years, just my
Yep.
building my own program.
Yep.
Um, I was hoping for a possibility of like a bit of a team ride, and I know me and Todd did get along really well,
Yep.
so I definitely made it known to him that I want a shot on the actual team. But with Reese being there the last couple of years, Reese Barden, he's done
Mm.
really well, and I think they get along really well. It was, I think, one of those deals. Like if Reese stays, then that's the direction we're going, which I can see that,
Mm.
like, realistically, I'm a realist, so his results look a hell of a lot better than mine. I, I'd like to think that if I got the team and the opportunity, I'd be able to beat him. But yeah, like it's fair enough,
Yeah.
he's got the results on the board. I don't. They're just going off my word at this point.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I made that known, and then Empire, I knew they needed a rider, so like I reached out to those guys. Didn't really get much from them at all, like even in the way of a reply. So that was a bit of a bummer, but yeah, I knew there was a couple opportunities and tried to do it for the 250, but in the end, we're just back on the privateer island. And yeah, with the crew at MX Store, they're
Yep.
jumping on board again, which obviously with the hat. Those guys have, since they've come on, it's been unreal. Yeah, they're really helping with, as you know, they've got every single product under the sun, and they can help out
Yeah.
a lot with even just relationships with every different brand and stuff. If I need a hand with stuff, they can bridge that gap a little bit. And the cool part about them is I think they just go with my program really well, because it's, as you know, like you were saying, it's like I'm the guy that's just sort of trying to make it happen, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
majority of dirt bike riders,
Yeah.
and their whole thing is like ride more, and they're asking me all the time like, what can we do to help, not me but like the sport.
Yeah.
um so it's pretty cool to see, yeah, and they actually take on like what I say. And it's like, for different things, it's like, how can we help get privateers to the races? Obviously they're not going to go ahead and um probably buy a semi to take everyone around. It's a bit hard, but they try to find whatever way they can to help out a bit. And yeah, they're essentially biggest part of my program. And then we've just got like Viking Industrial and um, Kawasaki, actually, with this year. That's what I'm going to be riding in Thailand.
Okay. Yep.
So I reached out to the guys in Kawasaki Australia, and we've organised the bike through them for here. So I'm going to be on
Okay. Yep.
Kawasaki. So I made a
Yep.
color change, which is really
Color
cool.
change. Yep.
Yeah, I don't mind making a bit of a change. It's just
Yeah.
like it keeps it exciting, I guess. And
Mm.
from all the reviews, I was keeping an eye on it like since that new Kawasaki. I don't know what year they did do the upgrade, but from everything I heard, it's like the chassis is a lot softer. I
Okay.
honestly
Yeah.
haven't ridden the bike yet, so I
Yeah.
can't give you a full review. It's just from things I've heard, and I'm a massive fan of sports. So I listen to all the podcasts and everything, and yeah, I'm pretty up on just what other people think of the bike. And
Yeah.
for me, being like I'm 66, 65 kilos sort of thing, so on a 450, it doesn't flex that much underneath me.
Yeah.
Obviously, I can
Oh
ride
yeah.
it
Yeah.
decently fast, but I
Yeah.
don't have that much weight. So I find if the bike has a bit of a softer frame, it's better for me,
Yep.
because the
Makes
bike
sense.
itself
Yeah.
can flex a little. Yeah, because I don't have that weight to make it flex. And the way that I ride as well, I'm not overly aggressive on the bike. I'm a pretty low revving person.
Yeah.
So yeah, a bit of a softer chassis works great for me because again, like this sport's so hard. You're always trying to find that perfect balance, and it's like I do like a reasonably stiff suspension setup. So then a soft chassis will benefit that as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, which again, I could be completely wrong that that's what the Cowie's going to do for me, but from everything I've read and studied and looked at with the bike, I think it'll suit me well. And I just gel with the Jap bikes as well, so I think it'll be
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice, nice. That's all. I thought
Yeah.
maybe you were going to say, "Oh, I like that husky so much, I'm going on a husky." But yeah,
No, 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 it's I don't know what it is about the Euro bikes. It's like I do really like them, and I think like the engine's awesome. They've always been really strong,
yeah,
but just something about the ergonomics. It's like I really like Japanese bikes. It just
yeah,
seems to suit me a bit better, and that Husky was unbelievable, but also they've got access to a lot more than I do.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they even just the time that they've been able to put in and get that
Mm.
setting out of it. Whereas for my own Euro bikes that I've had, I I haven't been quite able to set it up to get that comfortable ever.
Yeah, fair enough, man. Fair enough. Who was the other sponsor that you mentioned? Of I'm drawing a blank now. Just who's your like? Yeah,
Viking
Viking.
Industrial.
Yeah, what do Viking
Yeah.
do, man? What do they do?
So
I've heard the
they
name, but I don't know. I don't have no idea what they do.
Yeah, they do those big like industrial generators and stuff. So like the ones that you see on the side of roadworks and at mining sites and
Oh yeah.
um, just like even like council sites and stuff like that
Mm.
when they're doing whatever and they got to power a bunch. They got like generators and lighting towers and that whole thing.
Yeah.
It all come about through the YouTube actually. The one of the workers there, Joel, he's been unreal to me and he's my original contact. His young fella was watching the YouTube a bit, and then he started getting into it and watching it a bit, and then I put up a thing saying that I'm looking for a round partner.
Mm.
Basically, I do that throughout the championships. I
Yeah.
put out just like per round, you can come on and just basically helps to get some fuel to the races and different things. And they come on for that, and I think it was Gilman. What was that, 23 or something, and then yeah, from there we pretty well just kept chatting, and then they're like, "Oh, we might come on for the next round," and then they saw me at the end of the year, and they're like, "Oh, like what do we got to do to come on for the full championship?" So yeah, since then they've pretty well. I think we're 2.5 years or something deep now, and
Mm.
yeah, they're unreal. Been super cool to me. We did that. I don't know if you saw it, the like night shoot on the Stark.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so like that was cool. They bring out some generators and some lighting towers, and it was all solar because of the Stark. Like being
Yeah.
electric, they bring out like electric. They've got these cool electric lighting towers. So, sorry, not electric. Solar power.
Solar. Yeah.
So they charged up through the day, and then like they just had them sitting at Supercross track. So rode during the day, and then the sun went down, we turned them on, and yeah, got to ride Supercross track at night, which is always a bit of a dream.
Yeah.
And yeah, and they're essentially like yeah, co-partners with Unit, with MX Store as like a title sponsor for me for next year.
Yep. Yeah, cool, man. Cool. It's good, man. I love stories like that where people get hold of sponsors that aren't a moto brand, you know. That's
Yeah,
really good. That's what the whole sport wants, what everyone wants, you know. It's a really good thing, man. Really, really good.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's cool, and it's like they want to show like I'm on there. It's pretty cool. Like their emails and stuff. They've got like Joel Evans on their footer, like at the bottom of their emails, just basically showing that like they're putting back into the community and helping too, like
Yeah.
which is it's good for their business, and it's obviously unreal for me.
Mm.
That like they're a pretty big business and they're doing fairly well, so like they're willing to put back in, and yeah, it's been a godsend really. Super cool to work with them, and I think we're both benefiting from it, and it's been really cool.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Now, dude, I want to hear about the Asian Championships and
Yeah.
all these overseas races you've been doing, man. Like, it's cool, man. Like, I'm not right across it. I know you've raced in Thailand, and you did some of the Indian Supercross as well. I think is that
No, no, I didn't.
no?
I tried for it, but
Oh,
the
you did.
Indian stuff
Yeah,
was a pretty cool setup. Like I don't know if I don't follow cricket at all, but apparently they did it the similar way of the one of the series of the cricket.
yeah.
And it was like an auction
Yes,
setup.
like Indian Premier League cricket. It was
Yeah.
done similar to that, yeah, and yeah. So it's I don't know heaps about it. I know Elijah Weezy went over there,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Yeah, Caleb Goulet, Mossy,
yeah, Mossy,
Reed
Reed
Taylor.
Taylor, yeah.
Yeah,
So there's a few that went over, and yeah, for some reason I
yeah.
thought you were in the mix for that. I'm probably thinking of the other stuff. But yeah, the Asian Championships, man. Tell us all about it. It sounds interesting, man.
Yeah, yeah, it's super cool. So I try to do as much as I can. Actually, all started after I broke my neck. I took a while off the bike, and obviously, that was like sort of one that I was umming and ahhing, like whether to come back from. And
Mm.
my buddy, like once I started riding again, it was one of the first sort of racing opportunities I had to come back, which was super cool. My buddy Nick Sutherland, who's been out of the sport for a little bit now, um, but yeah, he hit me up in 2016 and said, "Hey, would you come over with me to Indonesia and race?" And I was like, "Yeah." It's like he's like, "Oh, you get," I can't remember what it was. I got $200 or something. It was
Mm.
like nothing, but and it's like, "Oh, I get to go over and they're gonna pay me, like, I get $200." I was stoked, and I was like, "Yeah, that's awesome." So, we went over, and actually, first round was myself, Aaron Tanti, and, which is insane to think that he was there doing that with me and, like, where
Yeah,
he's sorta got now.
yeah,
And then, yeah, Nick Sutherland and Aaron ended up wiping himself out because it was a full mudder, and it was just a full Asian experience. We turned up to the track. It was their national championship, and it was the most blue groove, hard packed, dusty track you've ever seen in your life. And that was before we've even hit the track. And then it was torrential rain. And you couldn't see the track. It was fully underwater. So it was just like it's just how it goes over there. And yeah, it was a cool experience, and it pretty well hooked me. I did that for a couple years. Actually, won that 2016 and 17 championship
for
over
that
there.
sport. So that's what's that called? Like the
That
Indonesian
was the
Championship.
Indonesian Power Track Championship, I think,
Yeah,
at that point. And then 18, they did have one. It was a bit of a weird setup, bit of like super crossy sort of thing. And I can't really remember what happened with that, but we had another couple cool guys over there. And then it was actually like COVID, everything happened, and that sort of obviously put a delay on stuff. But then Robbie Marshall, who obviously a lot of motor guys will know,
mm.
he gave me a call one day while I was out coaching and said, "Hey, well, I'm on the set of Mad Max." He was filming for Mad Max,
Okay,
and
yeah,
he's like, "But the boys have called me to go over and race in the Philippines. Like, would you go? I know that you're always keen." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, like put me on a plane. I'm ready." So flew over there and I met Kurt and the Team Good Boy guys, which I'm still riding for to this day. They're the guys I just signed for the Thailand Championship, and got to know them in the Philippines. Did a couple championships there. It wasn't like proper; it was just one-off events more so.
yeah,
But yeah, now this one is the actual Thailand Championship, which is a bit more like our domestic championship. It's full
yeah,
10 rounds. They've got team riders, like they've got factory Honda, factory Yamaha, and the guys are really fast. So it's a bit more of a legit sort of championship now. It's
yeah.
going to be my first time doing that. And yeah, so that's the one that's coming up 9th of February. That's going to be my first race back. And yeah, I'm riding for the Team Good Boy, it's called, on the Cowie. So pretty excited for that. That's going to be super cool. But yeah, it, it's a whole another world. Like you guys,
Yeah, I can,
if you follow any of my stuff,
yeah,
like the YouTube or whatever, it's like you turn up and the tracks that you'd get here, and people would just they wouldn't even want to ride, and that's their like prep national track ready to go.
Yeah,
Most of the boys here would probably just pack the gear bag and go home.
yeah. It sounds like you like the adventure of it though, man. Yeah,
I do, yeah,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
do like I get to go race my bike, which has been my dream forever. Obviously,
yeah,
I'm not in AMA, I'm not in Europe, I'm not on one of the factory teams, but it's like I've found a way for myself within the sport to it's essentially like it's sort of my job, sort of not. Like I do a bunch of coaching and
yeah,
I've been running backyard design, like at different things within this motocross industry. But to be able to go over and do this Asian stuff, and if I win, it's like I can make a bit of money, and um, yeah, it's like I love the adventure, like you said. But then also it's a way for me to be a quote unquote professional motocross rider,
mm.
which has always been my dream. It's just doing it a little bit different way.
Yeah, man. Yeah, like it's do you make obviously the with exchange rates and that, like what they can pay you, like do you make money out of it, or is it just more that it pays for itself, or
No, so the guys are pretty good to me, in the way of like that they pretty well cover any expense, which is awesome.
yeah,
And then from there, it's a lot sort of bonus based, like it's
yeah,
performance based. Like if you
okay,
do
yeah,
well, like say for this Thai thing, it's actually going to be a bit more of a different experience for me. The Thai government pays. So
really,
it's
okay,
like,
yeah,
yeah, that's how their championship works. So the Thai
mm,
government actually pays like the prize money and stuff.
mm,
So I got to go over a bit early and sort a bit of that stuff out, because obviously I have to pay tax and all that sort of deal. And I have no idea how to do this, but I'm sure we'll figure it out once we're there. And um, yeah, so you actually can do pretty well. Like those guys, it's their
okay,
job. Like
good,
it's like the Kyle Webster and
yeah,
like all the boys here that actually it's their job to go racing. That's what
yep,
the guys I'm competing are. Like they train and race full time. That's what they do.
yeah,
So
cool,
so yeah, it's like you're up against like guys that if they rode our tracks, it's like yeah, they probably I'd be very confident I'd beat them. But
yeah,
on their conditions and how they
yeah,
ride,
yeah,
it's everything I've got to sort of win these motos. So
yeah,
yeah, it's definitely experience. But the money side of things, it's really performance based. If I go over and win, it's like it's good for me. Yeah, like I
yeah,
can yeah, it essentially can pay for my Australian racing and help me get to the races here. So
yeah,
yeah,
cool. Sounds like you're pretty happy with the team and the bike and that sort of stuff. Like that side of
yeah,
it's pretty good.
yeah. The guys are it's such a different thing to what I do here.
Yeah,
Essentially, I try to just run a full stock bike when I'm here, with like a couple little changes.
yeah,
Whereas those boys, they're just like it's a whole different culture over there. It's like everything. If they got a scooter, like just a moped around the streets, they got to modify it. It's like
yeah.
everything's got to be a certain way. They're saying is like stock is boring. So you go over and
Stock
it's
is
like
poor.
you got the titanium foot pegs. It's like I had my first bike in Philippines that they got me on. It was the boss's like personal bike,
Yeah,
CRF 250, and the thing was like trick as it had full titanium axles, titanium bolts. It had a carbon like tank. The thing was just so sick. So yeah, you never like the bikes themselves are unreal. The Indonesian stuff, some of the bikes I rode were very questionable.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, these now it's like it's all pretty legit. Like I'll have a brand new 450 when I go over, and that'll be my bike for sort of the season. And the boys will, I think we're getting HGS exhaust. We've teed up the guys at A1 here in Australia, helping me out with getting like some cheaper like get ignitions and stuff like that to take over.
yeah.
So I've got a get ignition I'm going to take over there, like a twin hour power flow kit. So I'll have a pretty legit bike,
Mm.
which will be really cool. And obviously, just being new is, yeah, it just that's reliability side of things. We know that we'll be safe, with that.
Yeah, cool. Is there many other like foreigners that do it, or are you sort of, is it mostly like the fast Thai guys and then you, or is there other guys turn up?
So the Thai stuff, I don't know a ton about. I know that previously Lewis Stewart, who I don't know if you know him at all or that name, he
No.
was apparently rode for Circo Yamaha back in the day,
Okay.
and he was a bit of a talent like when he was younger, but he's been living, I think, in Indonesia since 2010 or something. And yeah, like making a full time living, like racing in Indonesia. And I know he did a Thai championship one year. I'm not sure. I don't think he's doing it this year coming up. But then we've got it's more so other Asian countries is where we get. So it's still
Yeah,
foreigners, but like it's still from Asian countries. So we'll get the Japanese will come out, like some riders from Japan, some riders from Korea. Um, we've got Indonesia. So Delvintor Alfarizi is a really quick kid from Indonesia. He's actually been on the can't remember what the team is. It's like JH Honda or something in MXGPs the last few years, racing
okay, yep,
MX2. So
yep,
so yeah, he's got a lot of experience and he's been living over in Europe, training those countries. And to be honest, he kicked my ass the last time we went over to Thailand. It was a different championship. It was the Asian
yeah.
championship, not the Thai. But yeah, he worked me, so he's actually on board as well for the full Thailand championship this year, and yeah, he's going to keep me honest, that's for sure.
Yeah, cool. That's it. That's it. He might be the rival, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, there's a few, but it is funny, like the other races I've done, definitely like the vibe is, you're some sort of superstar. You turn up and
mm,
you get treated unreal like that. Like that's super cool. The fans are screaming, and Ty's got a whole different vibe. It's definitely a lot more serious. It's a lot more like the Australian sort of series where like
yeah,
everyone's kind of mates, but you get to the first national and not many people are talking to each other. And
yeah,
um, yeah, it's the same sort of deal over there. It's like I've got to know, from all the Asian racing I've done, I've got to know most of them and like I am friends with them all. But you
mm,
get to the race and it's like there's little jabs going on, and it's like everyone. It's obviously it's their championship, so they don't really
yeah,
want
yeah,
me going there and winning.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, it gets a bit more serious, and the fans are definitely not for me anymore. Like in Philippines and Indonesia, I was a bit of a fan favorite, and Thailand, it's the opposite. It's like they
Yeah,
don't want to see the foreigner win. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's going to be a cool experience, like something a bit different to what I've been doing the last few years.
Awesome, man. Yeah, it sounds super interesting, man. Super interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, it is.
absolutely.
It's a cool way to go racing.
Yeah. And you still always do the like the sunny states and the Queensland championships and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. So this year, I'm not exactly sure how much I'm going to get in, just with the, like I said, 10 rounds of that, and then we got
Mm,
the Pro MX, and I want to do the full Supercross as well.
yeah,
Um, but honestly, racing's fun. It's like that's what I love to do. So if I ride a little bit less during the week, but I fill up majority of weekends racing, like that's what I'll choose to do. Because yeah, that's the whole point of it. It's like it's not quite as fun training during the week as it is, going racing on the
mm,
weekends. So I think we looked at the schedule. My girlfriend Michaela and I, who sort of helped me the whole way through. Obviously, she's not really doing much with the racing anymore, and we were going through the calendar, and she's basically like, "Oh, yeah, I'll see you in August," because yeah, I'm going to be away that much and traveling, going to the races. So it's I'm going to try to do whatever I can make. I'll do of the sunny states, whatever I can
yeah.
make. I'll do like I think the Queensland and sunny states are the same thing this year. They've combined them.
Oh, have they? Yeah.
Yeah, like there's
Okay,
no
fair enough.
separate championship. It's the same
Yep,
championship. And
yep.
they've just extended it up to Rockhampton to make it a little
Mm,
bit closer for the North Queensland guys, although they definitely get a little bit screwed up there. It's just the state's so big, it's a bit hard,
yeah,
to travel up to Cairns or whatever. So yeah, I'll do as many of the sunny states as I can. And then Pro MX, I think I might miss one round potentially
yeah,
for the tire stuff. But then yeah, Pro MX and the Supercross stuff.
yeah. Cool, cool. Calendar's stacked. Hey, that's the
It
that's the
is.
one. What's
It
your
is,
what's
yeah.
your sort of local track? So you're
Mm,
in you're in Brisbane, or
yeah, Sunshine Coast.
you're in the
So,
Sunny Coast? Yeah,
it would have been Coolum, but yeah,
yeah.
since we moved out of the van, we had about a year of Coolum, and then it got shut down. So, um, yeah, there's not really too much of a local track now. It's all Gympie, so like MX Farm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do a fair bit out there, and Mark and Sonia and like the guys that own MX Farm are really like next level good people. So they're always super accommodating and sort of allow me to come out during the week occasionally and ride. And
yeah,
Gympie seems to be a bit of a hot spot at the moment. So like my buddy Sam Larson, he lives in Gympie as well. So he's got a track, and then there's little Xander Kruick, who's like an up and coming kid. He's Gympie based, and yeah, it's like it's definitely a bit of a hot spot right now. It's about an hour and a half from where I am,
Yeah.
but it's not too bad, obviously, as we get used to driving, being dirt bike riders. So
Yeah, hour
to
and a half's easy.
yeah, I travel there sort of multiple times a week, and
Mm.
even right now I'm not riding, but I'm doing a decent bit of coaching, and I just seem to be going back and forth to Gympie because that's where everything is.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Cool. Awesome.
Yeah,
Dude, I always love to ask people about it's a lot to talk about with you, but
right,
I
go
got to
for it.
put my favorite question in still, which is always I always love to talk about people's when they first fell in love with dirt bikes, man. Tell us about
Yep.
that tell us about when that bug bit you, when that first mini bike.
Yeah, I've got a horrible memory, so like I don't have that great like actual vivid memories from back
Yeah,
then,
that's okay. Yeah.
but I know how it all started. So yeah, we didn't have much money or whatever growing up, but my old man always wanted bikes, but was never allowed them. Like his parents would never allow him to have a bike. So
Mm.
when he was old enough, he bought himself one, and then sort of as I guess I was getting a little bit older, I think I was 7. He saw next to his mum's place these guys. I think he said they were mid 20s or something, all cruising around the yard on a Pee Wee 50. And he saw him, and they were chasing a fridge, and he's like, "Oh, I've got a fridge," so he swapped him an old fridge for a Pee Wee 50,
Nice.
and
That's awesome.
so yeah,
That
I
is
got this old beat up Pee Wee that these guys have been ripping around on for years, and yeah, that's sort of the first bike and how we got into it. Um, we he knew nothing about racing or anything. Like he was never a racer. He just always liked bikes. So
mm.
I think we were just riding, out at the dump. I think next to the dump there was a bit of a quarry or something, and like he'd take me out there, and we'd just go ride. Grew up in Kingaroy, little country town, so you could sort of find places to ride.
Yeah.
And then, through I guess maybe taking the bike in to get worked on or something, you run into people, and there was a local club. They're like, "Oh, there's a track here," so started going out there, and then yeah, it just sort of kicked off from there. Apparently, straight away, I wasn't too bad at it. And the little peewees, not much suspension, and we kept cracking frames and different things. So um, yeah, then Dad bought me a KX60. Everyone else was on the 65s, but again, we didn't know anything about the sport. So
Yeah.
Dad bought an
Yeah.
old KX60 and cleaned it up and thought it was the trickiest thing ever until we got to the races, and we were like, he was like, "Oh, we probably need one of those with real suspension and and whatever."
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I've got a younger and an older sister as well, and yeah, we sort of all got into it together. And my parents split. I think it was about that time, maybe like sort of early primary school.
Yeah.
So as part of like the whole custody thing, it was the only way that Dad could have us was through sport.
Yeah.
So essentially, that was like I live with Mum, but if we were racing, Dad was allowed to have us, so we raced every weekend. he just he
Yeah.
just like yeah, like he sort of set us like the three of us kids, and yeah, just made it work. It was me, Dad, and the two sisters all in a little high ace van, like the old school, the small one.
Yeah.
Um, we'd pull the bikes out, and then we'd sleep in the back and just go racing sort of all the time. So that's sort of, I guess, what really bit us was we um we were just around it so much that we basically fell in love.
Cool, man. I love it. That's a good story, man. That's a good
Yeah.
story. I love the fact that your old man swapped the fridge for the Pee-wee. That is really that's really cool, man. That's grassroots. That is, man. And
Yeah,
then
yeah. It's a
yeah,
cool
and then
story for sure.
traveling around in the high ace and yeah, well, yeah, there you go, man. Your dad, he was making it happen. That's where you learn it
Yeah,
from, mate.
yeah.
That's where you learn
Oh,
it from.
100%. Yeah, he like I listen to some of the stories now, and it's pretty crazy to think like what he was doing for us to go racing.
Mm,
And as a kid, obviously, you don't realize, like, you just
yeah.
like, oh, you just want the better stuff and whatnot. But he said there's plenty of times that he was driving back from the races in this old high ace. The speedo didn't even work on it, and he said he had $20 in his wallet, and he's like, if anything happened, we were screwed. But like that $20 is like what he had at the end of the weekend,
Yeah.
and we'd always go. our job was like he always cut firewood, like being out west. So
Yeah.
he'd do firewood, we'd load up the trailer and van and stuff, and then he'd go sell it. We get enough cash to sort of then go to the race.
Yep.
And yeah, so we were getting a bit of a workout in, and then we'd be sleeping. He said there's a couple of times we're in the high ace where we're dumping, putting all this wood in. And he said he just like feels something on his back, and there's a bit of a red back there that's crawled out of a bit of wood. And yeah, like I said, definition of making it happen. So forever
Yeah.
appreciative. I'm sure I'm not the only one with these sort of stories. Like motocross, it's
Yeah.
pretty awesome, and that's part of the reason I love the sport so much. It's like I think the people you meet, like just to be able to do the sport, it's a bit of a slog. So,
Yeah.
like you meet a lot of people that are just genuine people that just want to go racing, and they're just
Yeah.
into it.
That's it, man. The sport's very character building, man. So
It is, yeah.
So you find a lot of people with good character. So that's sort of how it works. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
If
exactly.
people don't have a bit of grit and determination about them, they don't last.
Oh,
Because
100%, yeah.
it's too hard. Yeah, that's it.
And that's it. We look a little bit silly, I think, sometimes when you actually explain what we do. You
Yeah,
say it
yeah,
out loud. You're like, why do I do this? But
yeah.
something must keep us going because we just keep coming back.
People, yeah, people think they don't understand, and I can understand why they don't understand. Like it would sound
Yeah,
crazy when even when you're talking to medical people, or I remember the last time I had to go to a hospital, and
yeah,
they're just looking at me like, what what the hell is wrong with you? It's like,
yes,
because I was more worried about my hand being broken than my massive concussion. Because I was like, well, I'll be right with it. I've had concussions before. My head will be fine. I just need my
yeah,
hand to work, And
yeah,
they're
yeah,
like, you worried more about your hand than your head. And I was like, yeah. So but that's that's the
yeah, for
way.
sure.
It's the
It's
way
always funny talking to people that are outside the sport with yeah, like that sort of thing. The medical, I know, like my girlfriend, nothing to do with like motorsport or motocross or whatever, and um, she was pretty green, I guess, to all that, and we've been dating forever, like since
Mm.
sort of she got out of school, sort of thing. So, yeah, just her talking to like her family back in the day. It's like, oh yeah, Joel broke his hand, and they're like, what? Like, oh, is he okay? Like it was a massive deal. And she's like, oh no, he does that like a bit apparently. Like he's yeah, like it's a fairly
Yeah,
normal thing.
yeah.
And
He raced the next weekend. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And they're just like mind blown. Whereas now they're like, me and Michaela have been together like I think nearly 11 years now. So they're almost a part of motocross now. So they'll like just understand that it's a part of it. And you'll break a collarbone and be like, oh, when can I ride again?
Yeah, that's the best one to break. So that's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a
that's
plate in 2 weeks.
yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah. Righto, folks. It's time for an ad read. Guts Racing, Greg's Ultra Trick Seats. Gutsracing.com. That's a really easy website to remember. Really easy. On the weekend there at A1, Kenny on the podium with a Guts seat, and Smitty on the podium with a Guts seat. So there you go. Hep Suzuki, Factory Triumph, Rockstar Gas, Rockstar Husqvarna, Club MX, CDR Yamaha, PRMX Kawasaki, Empire Kawasaki. The list just goes on and on of people out there just crushing it on gut seats, including my man Scott Meshy. And as Scott Meshy says, they are a butt gripper and they will make you a ripper. Custom seats. You can get wide wings. You can get tall seats in 2 different sizes. You can get seat bumps. You can get seat bases. You can get complete seats. You can get the ultra light seat foam. You can get seats for ATVs. You can get seats for Surons. A huge range of colors. If you can think of a color, they will have it. You can even get Velcro fitment seat covers. If you do decide to go the traditional route and do a staple gun fitment on your seat cover, that seat cover will come with a QR code that you scan, and there's a video of Andy Gregg himself showing you how to install that seat cover the best way. How about that for service? That is pretty amazing. I'm speaking from experience here because I did exactly that when I installed the Guts seat cover on my Yami, on my Blue Crew. So get around it. Gutsracing.com. That's a really easy website to remember. Gutsracing.com. All right, let's get back to our Aussie privateer hero, Joel Evans, and see what else he's got to say. Dude,
Yeah.
Dude, I've got to thank you. I don't even know if you remember, but you let me think. I'll be able to get it would have been 2 years ago, maybe 3. No, here's how you will remember it. You remember the really muddy round at Wodonga.
Yes, I'll
Yeah,
like to get that one.
Everyone remembers that. So you used so my daughter at the time, she still does a little bit, was doing a bit of photography.
Yep.
And she did this. It's probably the best photo she's ever taken. It was a photo of you coming out of the last turn, and you used it. You reached out and you used it for the thumbnail on your video.
Yes, I do remember.
She was like 14 at the time. She was so pumped, man. So
Oh,
pumped.
really? That's awesome.
Like, and even when I said to her, a couple of months ago when we were first talking about you coming on the show, I said, remember the guy that used your photo? He's coming on the show. And then she was looking up your video again and telling her friends, like, this was my photo and that sort of thing. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Cool things, man. But it was a cracking photo, though, man. She does have a very good eye for it. She's not super interested in doing it as a big thing, but she has a very good eye for where to get good shots. So yeah, it's
which makes all the difference, as you know, like with dirt bikes and motocross photos, because you see the ones that don't have an idea, and it's like, oh, like I look like I've never ridden a bike before.
Yeah, because when she got those ones, she actually like snuck over the fence, and she was underneath the tower, the flag wavers tower.
Yeah, I know the one there. Yeah,
she was underneath there taking. I've got a photo of her sneaking in there.
Yeah,
she's under there, and that's where she shot that one from.
Yeah, she put some effort in for the shot.
Put some effort into like, I'll get a really good shot here because everyone was cocking up that corner, and that sort of thing, because the rut, it was like, that was a crazy event, that one.
It was. Yeah, when you think back and like the amount of, or the little amount the bikes finished.
Yeah, man.
I think that first moto I crashed, I can't remember how many times, a lot. And I did 2 pit stops, like full glove swap, like, and I like real tight gloves, so it took me forever to do it.
Yeah.
Glove swap, a goggle swap, multiple, I think 5 or 6 crashes, and I got 14th.
Yeah.
I was like, how's that even possible? But I think just about no one else finished. So it was just one of those days.
Well, that was the weekend there where, there was 3 of like the top 4 in points, the DNF'd, and I think it was like Dean and Mossy and Aaron all DNF'd, and Jed, I think Jed won. But that was wild, absolutely, yeah. Cool, man.
Yeah.
Dude, what's your favorite? What's your perfect track? So, what's a track where you roll up and you see the conditions and the style of track, and you just like, oh my god, this is exactly what I would have ordered.
Yeah, I'm like a sand loam guy. So any track that's got some softness to the bumps and the ruts, and sort of something that I can turn off, like little ruts. Little ruts or like built up berms and stuff like that. It's like that's me. Rough, sandy, loamy stuff. I just seem to excel in those conditions. Like say Gilman style, like a national, like I've heard it goes blue groove, which is unbelievable considering like what we see at a national, but it's the same, like a bunch of tracks, like local guys are like, oh, it's hard packed, but we turned up and we get spoiled because they put a bunch of effort in. But the track there at Gilman is like, it's got a bit of a hard base, but they always seem to lift it up for the national and rip it deep, and it gets super like big straight line ruts, big bumps, stuff where I can play with the track a little bit. I feel like I'm pretty creative, so I'm good at like hopping and like doubling stuff, and like if there's braking bumps, I'll find a way to land off, like jump a ski and land down some bumps, or jump off a bump and land down a ski or something like that. I just love that sort of thing. Like Coolum, I always really loved Coolum,
Yeah.
and I always did really well there as well. Um, but yeah, it's a bummer that's gone too. It's like that one was a
No,
weird
it
one
is a bummer.
because
Yeah.
you're sort of like you knew you were going to hate your life, like you were going to be suffering, like everybody's going to suffer. But at the same time, I knew I was always good there, and again, being creative, I feel like I found lines that no one else saw. Um, it's still probably to this day one of my best rides I've ever had was at Coolum Sunny States, whatever year that was, 22, I think. Um, went there and we had this. It was basically a national. It was like Gibbsy, Clout, um, Waters, Ferris, Tanty, like all the boys were there.
Yeah.
And I think I come from like seventh and got into second and was like, I didn't beat, I think Dean won. And it's like, I don't think I was catching him either, but like I got into second and like passed like
Mm.
Cloudy and Gibbs and like all those boys just straight up. And I was like, shit, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then Ford actually saw like Ford trains a lot of those boys and he saw me afterwards and was like, "You were just riding a different track, man. Like, good job." And he said, "Like they weren't even riding the same track as you." So
Mm.
that those sort of conditions is yeah what I like. And then to the opposite of that, which is funny considering I do all the Asian stuff. It's like hard pack stuff. I just hate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to feel the ground and I want
Yeah.
some movement. And you get to the tracks like Maitland. Maitland's like the one that's typically on the national calendar, and I just dread going to Maitland. It's like just that hard pack stuff where you don't really have connectivity from your tires to the ground,
Yeah.
and you're sort of, I guess, relying on just like I don't know. I still haven't fully figured it out to be honest. And
Yeah.
I'm a pretty yeah.
Harder
You
to
go first.
find the limits. Harder to find your
Yeah,
limits. You know, like when the track will move a little bit, you feel it move. But yeah, when the
exactly.
track doesn't move, you just don't know how far you can push until it's going to bite you.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way of explaining it.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty analytical and I try to break things down, and yeah, that's a pretty good way of explaining it because it's like yeah, I feel like I'm either there and it's like I go to the next level, I'm gonna have a big crash. It's like
Yeah.
whereas in those other conditions, I feel like I can gradually get better and like go
Yeah.
faster. Whereas yeah, it's like somewhere like Maitland, I'm like I exactly what you said, I don't know where the limit is. It's like I'm either up or I'm not.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, those boys seem to. I was studying a little bit this year, like afterwards, because I was a bit frustrated, and even coming up to it I still don't fully understand it. They just have
Mm.
so much trust and just believe the tires are going to hold. Um, which yeah, I don't have that. I think I ride as well. Like my comfort window is a lot smaller than a lot of people's.
Yeah.
Um, and if I'm in that window, I'm good. But if I'm not, I seem to like drop off a lot.
Yeah.
A bit like I don't know how much like the other podcasts you listen to as well, like the pulp stuff.
I
Obviously, like
listen to
Mathis is
I listen to
massive, and
heaps of stuff, man. Heaps of
yeah,
stuff.
so
Yeah.
like those like Ouija's theory on like Tomac and stuff, like as they get older, they can go fast, but not as often.
Yeah.
And it's like essentially their windows just like when they're on. And I still
Mm.
feel like that's myself a little bit. And I've always been that way. It's like if I feel comfortable, I feel like I can run with anyone. And I could be a little bit delusional that way. Like maybe I can't, but I've seen it at the practice tracks and stuff. It's like when I
Yeah.
ride well, it's like I've straight up beat Dean at different days, like training, and then I go to the
Yeah.
race and he just makes me look like an amateur. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's like when I get in that window and I'm comfortable on the right type of dirt and stuff, yeah, I feel like I can go pretty damn fast. But that's why this sport's so hard. It's like yeah, it's like well done, champion. You're fast at the practice track, but you got to figure
Yeah.
the rest out somehow.
Yeah, that's it. Probably, I don't know, there's probably a bit of there's a mental difference too, yeah, on race day to practice day. There's probably,
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
but
Yeah,
and
I know.
a lot of belief, the belief. That's why you see guys, they win once or they podium once and then it clicks like, I know I can do that now. I'm a podium guy, so I can podium again, It's kind
Yeah,
of belief thing, yeah.
yeah,
But,
100%. I had this chat to Medi with like the stuff I've done.
mm,
It's pretty cool, really. Like when you're just chatting to you and to bringing up these little stories. But uh, when we were living in the van, I was going down to one of the Adelaide rounds, and so I contacted Medi on DM and just said, "Hey, do you mind? Like, can I ride with you this week?" And yeah, he let me come out to his track, and I was faster than him, and I was just like, I saw him after, and I was like, "Hey, man, like, I'm not delusional. Like, I'm confident. Like, you're probably not worried about me beating you today and like being at the track." But I was like, "What is it? Like, why can I beat you today? And then on this weekend, this national, like, I'm assuming you're not concerned about me." And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Yeah, well, not really." He said, "I think it's a little bit of both." I said, "I think you guys, like your privateer guides that are good, seize up a little bit at the races and you don't ride to your potential. But
Mm.
then also us guys, this is when he was on Honda and like he was
Yeah.
podium guy. Um, he was like, we step up at the races as well. So
Mm.
it's a little bit of both. Um, and yeah, he's like, we just are able to find that extra gear and I feel like you guys like, yeah, clam up a little and drop a little,
Yeah.
which I definitely feel that in myself, which
Mm.
that's watching my own videos back and stuff. I get frustrated at myself because of how much of a downer I am. I'm
Mm.
like, sorry, um, just yeah, like cheer up, like you're racing, like it's fine. But yeah, I just know that I can ride better than that.
Yeah.
Um, but then yeah, the race, it's like I said, it's a mental thing. It's so hard to pull it out on race day. It's and I'm still trying to figure it out. Like the fun thing for me is trying to get better. Like I enjoy
Yeah.
that side of the sport. So I actually got a mental coach. I've only done a couple sessions with
Mm.
for at the end of yeah, like during the Supercross season. Actually,
Yeah.
it's a bit expensive, and I sort of, to be honest, I just ran out of money. So I stopped it, but I fully plan on continuing with her and just hoping just something clicks there because we all go to the gym and get fit, but I feel like that's obviously we all know it's a big part, but we don't really do too much for it. So
I think
maybe
it's
maybe that
amazing.
can help me.
Yeah, I'm a guy who's like I'm really interested in how the mind works. You know, it's a whole nother subject, whole nother tangent I could
Yeah.
go on. But I'm genuinely really I'm not formally educated in it, but I read a lot about it. I watch a lot of things about it, and I'm really interested in how the mind works. I'm interested in
Yep.
psychology, and yeah, and I've talked to a few people about mental coaching, and I've had mental coaches on the show, and
Yeah.
it's
Okay. Yeah.
really interesting stuff, man. I think it's super valuable thing to people. Yeah,
It is. Yeah, and I think it's like a lot of it. You sort of have to be ready to hear things you don't want to hear
yeah,
as well.
yeah,
I know my sister, the same thing. She's not formally educated in it. And it's always hard, like, because it's, family, so you definitely don't want to listen to them. But
yeah.
she did a fair bit, and she's actually married to Dean Ferris. So,
Oh, I
like,
didn't even know that. Okay, I didn't
yeah,
even
so,
know that. Okay, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I
so
would
Dean's
never
my
put that together.
brother-in-law.
Yeah, would never
Yeah,
put
we've got
that
a big
together.
family of motocrossers. It's my younger sister's married to Luke Reardon, and my older sister's married to, yeah,
Wow,
to Dean
I had
Ferris.
no
So,
idea. Yeah, cool. Okay, yeah.
um, but yeah, anyway, she got right into like the mental side and was trying to help Dean
Mm,
a little bit with that. And yeah, at one put she goes on tangents of like little things that she does. Like, and one point she was right into the psychology stuff.
mm,
And yeah, she was telling me she's like, because I'm someone who's known, like, and they used to, everyone was like, oh, it's like just Joel Evans luck and stuff because I always have bad luck and whatever. But she's once she started getting into the psychology stuff, she was like, well, you wanted to crash or you wanted that to happen. And I get so mad. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, why would I want to have a first turn crash or a bad start or whatever? And then realistically, like now I can look back and be like, she was pretty spot on. It's like you don't technically want to crash, but it gives you an excuse. And it's almost like
yeah,
I'm scared to have the opportunity to do well
yeah,
and then not execute it. Because
yeah,
then, if you have a shitty start and I go from 20th to 10th, everyone's like, dude, that's such a good start. Like you come
mm,
through the pack. If you whole shotted, you would have done awesome.
mm,
Um, and then you're so scared to whole shot because you're like, what if I go backwards? Which you probably will. But yeah, it's just one of those deals. It's trying to get your brain to do your best, I think. And I've studied it as well. And it's like I said, I'm analytical and I love this side of things, but
mm.
to get yourself to do it is another thing. And as simple as it is and as cliche or whatever, it's like do your best is so hard to do because if you just get a good start and do your best, you'll absolutely kill it. but to
Mm.
get yourself to do your best is freaking hard.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's sort of what I've found, like, with myself anyway. And it's like, I'm pretty realist with it, and like if anyone like sort of watches the YouTube and stuff, it's like I keep it all pretty open and just say like whatever now. Um, but yeah, and it's like I'm still fighting that a little bit. It's like I at times feel like I'm still almost wanting an excuse. Like I'll say out loud that I don't, but it's like subconsciously there's
Mm.
something there that's giving me an excuse, and it's like self sabotage sort of deal.
Yeah.
Um, which the good guys are able to get rid of that. Like I feel like the
Yeah.
ones
Yeah.
that do really well, and I think that's a lot of the guys that you see with so much talent and are so good that for some reason don't execute.
Mm.
I think it's just got to be mental because you watch them ride the bike and they're unbelievable.
Yeah. 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 It's so interesting, man. Like I reckon if I had my time again, knowing what I know now, I'd probably become a sports psychologist. I reckon I find it that interesting. At nearly
Yeah.
50 years old, man, I'm not going back to school. But yeah, if I was a young man again, that's probably what I'd do because it's really interesting. I read books and all that sort of stuff, and even
Yeah,
just for
awesome.
even just for an old bloke like me, it's interesting and it's helpful just with life, man.
Oh,
So
for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not just applicable to bikes. Like it's
mm,
everything. Hey, yeah,
everything. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
No, I think the same. Like, and I think after this, like, like I said, I've sort of turned this into essentially a job now, which is
Mm,
awesome. But I'm not making any money doing it.
yeah,
But it's like it's a cool life to live, and I'm like, well, after what am I gonna do? Um, I don't really want to go back and like I was a fire tech before this, like just working with my old man as a fire technician, and
yeah.
um, I'd love to do like the Ford Dale Elite or the Beatons program, something like that. I've
Yeah.
always like from when I was little, I was like, I'd love to be the Australian Eldon Baker sort of deal.
Mm,
Um, and I think the knowledge of me trying to do it all and being through it and like learning all this, it's like I think I'd love to do something like that because yeah, you got so much knowledge and you're almost like the same thing. You're like, oh, if I could go back, I could do
mm.
this. And if you can, tell some 16-year-old or 14-year-old or even 23-year-old kid, like, hey man, stop doing it this way. I did that and this you don't,
Yes.
there's no good outcome here.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and just give them a bit of guidance. I think it'd be a super cool thing just from experience what you learn. Like you said, you don't have a degree, but I'm sure that you could help even myself with how much like with the mental side and so many
Mm.
riders. And then the same for me, just like I'm not going to have an official degree in anything, but essentially I've got a degree in dirt bikes because
Yeah.
I've like
Yeah.
studied it, I've worked on it. I'm the biggest fan of the sport. Like a lot of the guys, I guess that you race against, the sort of last thing they want to talk about is bikes. But for me, I don't know. I'm the opposite. I just can't get enough. I watch every practice. I listen to every podcast. Yeah,
Mm.
I don't know why. I'm just obsessed with this stuff.
Yeah, man. No, I certainly understand it, man. I'm that Aussie that's up at 3 o'clock in the morning to watch race day live for an East Coast round, and the whole deal, man. And
Yeah,
I'll be messaging my American friends, and they can't believe I'm up so early, but I'm sitting there watching it live. And, trying to be
yeah,
quiet so I don't wake the missus up. Yeah, but
yeah.
no,
That's
I'm
awesome.
all in. I'm absolutely consumed by the sport, man.
Yeah, it's pretty
Absolutely.
cool what I went through. Like to be completely honest, man, like I didn't know too much about the podcast and stuff, and
Yeah, man. Yeah,
I went through and looked at it a bit yesterday, just like when no one's coming up. You had some pretty unreal like guests on and stuff, like with Davey
yeah, man.
Coons and
Yeah,
like it and all the boys. I was like, this is pretty epic. Like it would have just been awesome for you just to chat to
yeah.
those boys.
It
Yeah,
was, man. Yeah, yeah. It was. I'm kind of lucky in a way. Where I don't know why, I can't explain it, but I don't fanboy like at all.
yeah, yeah,
Like I'm very just like I'll talk to anyone in the world, no matter who they are, very comfortably, and I'll
yeah,
talk to them the same as well. So it's been really
yeah. It's
cool
definitely a
to.
skill.
And I don't know why I'm like that, but I am. And one of the main reasons why I've been lucky enough to talk to a lot of good guests, man. I'm not scared to ask. Like they're just another person to me,
Yeah.
I don't like go, oh, I can't talk to this person. And I've sort of
Yeah.
even before I did the show, when I was just doing all my Instagram stuff and that sort of thing, I got to know, a lot of American guys through my Instagram stuff.
Yeah.
Through my and the Instagram stuff's a lot of vintage stuff, so I got to know a lot of the
Yeah.
old
Okay.
boys,
Yep. Yep.
So that's sort of that, and then also too, was lucky enough to become friends with Daniel Blair, man. So and
Yeah. Okay. Sweet.
that's opened doors for me as well, which is pretty cool. And yeah, he's just like you and me too, man. So like he's
Yeah.
just a good dude. So
Yeah. That's
yeah,
awesome. Yeah. It's
that's it.
surprising once you start talking to people. I know, like, it's funny that I'm the guy that does all the social stuff and like the YouTube and stuff, but it's like I'm a pretty shy person. I've always have been. Um, and it's like, yeah, putting myself out to talk to people is not like a normal thing for me. But then, yeah, lately we're always surprised. It's like me and Michaela talk about it. It's like you meet a new person within the industry and you've got some sort of preconceived notion of who they are. And then you're like, oh,
Yeah,
he's a good dude. And then you're like, oh, he's actually a good dude. And it's like
yeah, man. It's
everyone's actually just a normal, pretty cool person. But it's like you look from the outside and you're like, oh, like, I don't know about that guy. Like,
it, it's
even my new
amazing, man.
filmer, yeah, like my new filmer Pruddy, like I look at him on socials and I was like, oh, he's a bit of a cool guy. Like, like I'm just a bit of a guy that loves motor. I don't really consider myself like a cool guy. And I was like, oh, he's a bit of a cool guy. But got to meet him. He's like the biggest legend and just loves the sport as well. And it's like
Mm.
we become awesome mates. And you're like, yeah, you definitely shouldn't judge people because, yeah, it's like when you get down, it's like we're all fairly similar.
Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah. It's just sort of something I live by, whether it's doing this or just out in the world, man. I try and just treat everybody the same, man. I don't treat
Yeah,
anyone bad unless they do it first. And they deserve it.
yeah,
But
for sure.
yeah, man, that's cool. But like moto, like I've say, like I reckon I wouldn't need more than one hand to count the people that I've come across in moto, off-road racing, even trail riding, that is a dick. I couldn't.
Yeah,
Maybe handful, and the main ones I can usually think of were riders' wives and girlfriends
yeah,
who
yeah,
weren't really moto people, and would cause trouble and stir shit and that sort of thing, and
yeah,
sometimes partners that would cause grief, or junior parents or something like that. There's still only two or three I can think of in like ever.
yeah,
That you just meet such good people, man. And I know, like I got mates that are big footy guys, and you hear them talking about their football club, and it's just like this person's a cunt, this person's a bitch. It's just all this drama, and it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
you don't really get that much with moto. You get your little bits,
No.
but it is true. It is true, man. Motorcyclists are good people. That's it.
Yeah, yeah, I'm a firm believer in it. I know it's like the whole thing is like a lot of moto people are like, oh, would you ever get your kids into it? And it's like your first instinct's no, because like
Mm,
it costs so much, the industry,
yeah,
like the injuries, everything. And then you're like, I don't know, like there's lot of awesome people, and I feel like it develops great humans. And that's
it
like you
does.
said about the mini parents thing. Like I do a fair bit of coaching,
Mm,
and yeah, I just won't deal with mini parents. I'm just like, yeah, just go somewhere else. That's fine. Like
yeah,
I don't want that. And it's
yeah,
like my biggest thing. It's like even if I get like I'm working with a couple quick kids now, and like young Nate Parrott, I feel like can do something in the sport that I'm
yeah,
working with, and he's a good kid, good family, and I pretty well just tell him all the time. It's like he's a kid, and we're raising a human. Like we're not raising a dirt bike rider.
yeah,
And it's like you'll get that through motocross essentially.
yes,
And yeah, it's like I do believe that, yeah, it's like those kids like Nate, for example, it's like I'd love my kid to be like that kid.
yeah,
Just like,
yeah,
he's 13 years old and he's working his butt off and he's mature enough that me and him can hang out, you know what I mean? And like yeah, like he's respectful and it's I feel like it's just such a good sport for what it does. And myself, like I was a dumb motocross kid that thought I was going to be a motocross rider before I knew what was involved. So I left school at grade 10 and I was nowhere near good enough to think I was going to make it on a dirt bike.
Mm,
Um, and I just essentially just went to work because I was like, oh, I can't really make it as a dirt bike rider. And I was
mm,
working in like a abattoir and stuff like that. But the skills are now that like I've learnt from motocross, it's like I almost feel like, I know a bit about marketing and business, and
mm,
I can talk to people, and like I know what, they want in their companies, and I know how to send an email, and like all these little skills that I've built just through the sport, which realistically we all at some point have to do,
mm,
because if you're 17 years old, you can't afford to go racing and pay for everything and yourself. Like you need some sort of support.
mm.
So it teaches you all those skills, whereas, I'm not saying I'm smart by any means, but I've learnt little skills along the way that I think can help me in life. Like, when I transition out of this to do something else with my life.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, you learn lots of stuff, like we were talking about, you learn character, if you're winning and you're heading up on podiums, you learn how to talk,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
teamwork, you learn mechanical skills, you learn, so many just life skills, man. It's one thing I always remember about Moto Kids. I remember a presentation night, and we were having a presentation night at I think it was a golf club. A golf club
Yeah.
had a function room, and all through all the junior presentations, all the kids are up there. They're thanking their parents, they're thanking their sponsors, and they're all just
Yeah.
really, really good, like they always are,
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I can remember, I was probably just going for a beer or whatever, and the lady behind the bar was, she was telling everyone, like, I can't believe these kids, like they said, we have like footy clubs and cricket clubs come in, and the kids don't say a word. They just grab their trophy and smile, or just like say a
Yeah.
quick thank
Okay.
you,
Yeah.
and then get the hell out. Like this, and she's like, I can't believe all these like motorbike kids that are so well spoken. And it was something that always stuck with me. That it was really cool, man, to hear that from
Yeah.
her. How confident and well spoken and good these kids are. And
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a I guess it's a thing that you wouldn't even blink twice at, think that it's anything.
it
But then,
just seems
yeah,
normal,
if
doesn't it?
yeah, yeah. But it's like, yeah, I guess it is like a random thing for kids to have to get up in front of a group of people and, thank their sponsors, or, thank mum and dad.
Yeah, yeah, that's right, man. That's right.
So,
Cool, man. Hey, just one last one, man. Any other
yeah, yeah.
hobbies or interests, man? What else? Are you into anything else?
I try to be, but like I said, I really want another hobby, because I feel like I should. That's the only other reason, really. But
Yeah,
motocross just consumes me. Yeah, I don't honestly have much. I
yeah,
like enjoy fitness and that side of things. But like with injuries and whatnot, it's like I can't do the stuff. And just with being a racer, it's like it's probably not smart to get right into a different fitness hobby because you're
yeah,
not
yeah,
benefiting what you're doing as a racer.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't really have too much. Like I'm gonna be completely honest.
Yeah,
I just
it's
love
actually, yeah, I get that
motocross.
answer a bit, man. I get that answer a bit. Especially like current races. Current races are
Yeah,
usually pretty much locked in. There's not, but every now and again you'll get something where someone plays the guitar, or they, all sorts of, you get some weird and wonderful things sometimes that people are
yeah,
into. That's interesting, man. And yeah, a lot of the time it's just like, mountain biking, like,
yeah,
which is
exactly.
sort of
It's like,
like,
oh,
which
is it
is
is it
as
is it
close as you
different,
can get.
really?
Yeah, it's almost the same. Yeah, one day, like they're sort of merging, aren't they? They're gradually merging.
Yeah, exactly.
You got the e-bike, and then you got your e-dirt bike, and then you got your Suron, and it's all starting to really blend in, isn't it, man? Yeah.
Yeah, it's very similar. And yeah, like I said, I'd love to say that I can play a guitar or something, but I've tried a few different things over the time, but just nothing really sticks. I just don't care about anything else.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'd sort of, yeah, again, like with my girlfriend, it's like I'm talking to her and I was like, I'd love to get into footy or something, like even just to watch the footy.
Mm.
And it's like I try, and I'm just like I've got no interest, and I don't know what it is, but the one thing actually, Lionel Sanders, he's a triathlete.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't really watch moto blogs at all,
Yeah.
like other moto blogs, which is a bit
Yeah.
interesting. But I watch. He's like a triathlete, and I'm just hooked on his like stuff. And I watch like triathlete stuff, and it seems boring as hell. Like you just sit there and watch people run, but I don't know. I just for whatever reason I'm right into that, and it's like
Yeah.
I can't
Cool.
swim. I can't swim for crap. And it's like I've never done a triathlon really before, but
Mm.
for some reason that's hooked my interest a little bit. But for as far as me actually doing anything, yeah, I'm moto all the way.
Cool, man. Cool, man. Thanks for your time, man. Last
No, I
thing I
appreciate it.
do, my outro music is pretty weird because it's me singing a bit of Kenny Rogers. And
Yeah, right.
there's a funny backstory, man, that I won't bore you with. And it's a bit of a tradition. And I always say, if you know the words to Kenny Rogers the Gambler, then by all means, welcome to join in. So, but
I was about to say I'm probably not gonna sing with you, so
yeah,
I'll
that's all
I'll
right.
happily listen. I'll happily listen and nod along.
Most people opt out, so that's that's it.
No, unreal, mate.
Sometimes people get right into it. So
Yeah,
I'll do my outro song.
yeah, let's go
So
for it.
I handed him my bottle, and he drank down my last swallow. Then he bummed a cigarette and asked me for a light, and the night got deathly quiet, and his face lost all expression. Said, if you're gonna play the game, boy, you gotta learn to play it right. You got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. Joel Evans, thank you very much for your time this evening, man, and good luck for 2025. I'll be watching out to. I'll be cheering you on, man, and I'll definitely, I've seen you about, and I've never actually properly, met you, but I've seen you
Yeah,
until today. But I've seen you about at races, and I'll make sure at round one at where are we at? Wonthaggi. I'll
on
come and
Taggy.
say good day. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you having me on, man. It was honestly just fun to chat. It's like I said, anytime I can sit and talk dirt bikes, I'm honestly pretty pumped. So no, it was good to meet you, and yeah, we'll definitely. I'm sure I'll see you at the races from now on. We'll go and chat about the Supercross or whatever's going on.
Cheers, man. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks heaps,
All
man.
right. Cheers, man.
See ya.
Bye.